Doesn't make it easy. Doesn't make it easy.
Break it to the top while I am messing up the numbers. Though I'm trying, I can stop it, 'cause I just can't keep the habit. But I never get enough, though you know I got a lot. No, I never get enough, 'cause it's all I got. Step into the city while I'm making my decision. Putting out what I am missing. Fill my pop, 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 I can still like pop, pop, pop. But I never get enough. Pop, 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 'cause it's all I got. Come here, girl. Come to the bed. Come here, girl. Come to the bed. And make it wild, wild, make it wild, 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 make it wild, 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 make it wild. Make it wild, 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 make it wild. Break it wild, 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 make it wild. Break it wild. Make it wild, 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 make it wild. Make it wild, 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 make it wild. Make it wild, 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 make it wild. Bring it to the top right now, make it wild. Bring it to the top right now, make it wild. Bring it to the top right now, make it wild. Bring it to the top right now, make it wild. Make it wild, make it wild. Make it wild, make it wild, make it wild. Make it wild, make it wild, make it wild. Make it wild, make it wild, make it wild. I'm gonna make it wild. I'm gonna bring it wild. I'm gonna make it wild. I'm gonna make it wild. This is a night of love.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Sunday night. It is a special, extra special edition of the Lawn Care Help Desk. Now, whether you are cool season, warm season, all season, whatever season, or green grass season, or it doesn't matter. Hey, whatever season you identify with, we are here to help you tonight. I am joined by one of our illustrious co-hosts, Mr. Ray Ito, the Green Duck. Ray, how the hell are you this evening?
I'm good. I mean, it's kind of a cloudy, miserable afternoon in Hawaii right now, but I don't care because I'm with you all. I don't
Hey,
care.
we appreciate that company. Now listen, you're probably wondering, now where is that big burly hunk of a man, Matt Martin? And the answer is he is, well, Ray, he's 6'4", so it would be hard for him to be neck deep in shit, but he's probably at least up
Mhm.
to his belly button or his nipples, somewhere in between there right now, trying to deal with some
Yeah.
issues at their new plant, and we're gonna give him all the grace in the world because he has worked
Mhm.
exceedingly hard to get to where he's at right now, and we're not gonna let this show stop him because you know what, Ray? We've got an immense amount of cool season knowledge. We have an immense amount of warm season knowledge, and hopefully some real talk that you won't get just about anywhere else on the YouTube lawn care space right now. Because hey, guess what? This is the community, right, boys and girls? All right, now listen.
Yeah.
Here's the way it's gonna work. We've got some mailbag questions that have piled up here in the last several weeks as things have gotten going. So we'll kind of dip into those as we see fit. However, we will have the phone lines open here. Jay Pink, can you tell us the number to call and when folks can make their first calls?
Well, we can go now, but the phone
Well, let's
number is 304-80 grass or 304-804-7277.
You heard it here, folks. 304-80 grass. All right. 304-80 GR ass. Okay. So fire up those phone lines. Let's hear it. I know several people just today have sent me messages saying, hey, what about this? What should I do for this, Ray? And you know what I told them?
Mhm.
I said, there's a wonderful opportunity for you to call in and give us, not only your question, but let everybody hear those answers. Well, here we go. Right here.
Here we go. Yeah. It's on.
Caller,
What's up, gentlemen?
you're live. What is up?
How's it going,
How are
guys?
you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
We're doing good. To whom do we have the pleasure of speaking?
This is Jake, otherwise known as Ear, Nose, and Turf.
Oh.
How was that 24-hour shift,
Long
sir? Did you
time
make it through?
listener. Oh, geez, I'm so tired. But there's three. I did 3 24s in the past week, so it's been a rough week. But I
All the better
slept
to
until
have
like
a beer and
4
talk
p.m.
turf.
today. So
There you go.
yeah, had a couple
There you go.
beers. Now things are good.
Good.
Question for you guys. I think it's
Let's hear it.
apt time to talk about this. Is strategies for breaking dormancy and early spring green up. I know that I've seen a couple lectures on the topic and talking about using nitrate fertilizers. And there's been also talk about doing like paints or pigments to help warm up. So I wanted to hear what your thoughts were.
Yeah, that's a great question. And certainly, I think if I remember correctly, not to give away your position too much or dox the hell out of you, but you're in the northern part of New York, somewhere in that vicinity, and so yeah,
where
it's
it
probably
snows like crazy.
yeah. So you're probably getting like 70, 80 inches of snow a year. So let me look up the weather
Yeah.
coming up in that area. Looks like it's 40 degrees right now. Yeah, not a particularly great forecast coming up for this week. 40s, maybe touching
Yeah,
50.
it was
So here,
warm. Yeah.
right. So okay,
Right.
so
And
here's a
then
couple of. Go ahead, Ray.
so you basically had a warm spell and then you're back to cool. My advice is generally at that point, because the weather hasn't made up its mind yet and Mother Nature's still drunk,
Yeah.
I'd probably say just kind of sit back and wait a little while because okay, I've had this conversation with other people where these days the current thing is early, right? And the way I put it to somebody is, what would happen if you showed up early to a dinner and the host and the service line, etc., was actually not ready for you?
Yeah.
And that is what grass is like, because you want to be early, but the weather conditions are saying it is not time yet, actually. So my advice would be to just let the weather stabilize a bit and get into it at that time.
So what kind of trouble can you get into from being too early, other than leachate? You know.
Other than
Uh,
leachate, how about stimulating the grass to do things at times when it shouldn't be doing things? That's the other hazard is if you have this warm spell and you've juiced the grass up and forced growth and then it frosts again, I don't see anything positive out of doing that.
Gotcha.
so
I
I
don't
mean,
see any.
go ahead.
Yeah, I just
I'm
don't
sorry.
see the benefit of being early in that case.
Let's see if I can dig up a quick message here. Picture that I'm looking for. Okay. So a couple of things here. Number one, you're never going to beat Mother Nature. Like it's just not going to happen.
Right.
And that's okay. So I think the question is like not necessarily like short term right now, but just sort of best practices of early spring green up. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Cool. All right. So that all being said, a few things that you can take advantage of, kind of going in through the fall, really, because that's when it starts. Ray likes to quote me saying that the fiscal year for cool season turf begins on September 1st of the previous year, and
Mm-hmm.
that is
Yes.
especially true in colder climates because you have such a shorter growing season, right? That you need to take
Yeah.
advantage of that, and it might even be a little bit sooner. In your area, I'm going to still say September 1st. Now, um, number one, a question I have for you: set up the first best practices. Take me through your fall fertilization, say from like October onward. What did you do from a fertilization standpoint?
Yeah. So, I have it all written down somewhere,
Just
but
ballpark it.
in
Ballpark it.
general, yeah, ballparking. So, I did a complete renovation, burned everything down, and tossed 46 tons of sand down on my about 7 to 8,000 square feet. So I got
Hardcore.
about an inch and a quarter, close to inch and a half of sand everywhere, and then put down some elite cultivars of just KBG, mostly compact midnight. So then that took forever.
Oh,
I did that probably around the very end of August, early September, and
okay.
I thought that I was never going to have a lawn. So it started to actually look like there was something growing around October 1st, and that was when I started just going about anywhere from a quarter pound to a tenth of a pound, every week to every other week until it just wasn't. I wasn't cutting anything off anymore.
Okay. Yeah. So,
Okay.
I would say a few things there that you got to make sure that you have adequate nitrogen going to the plant using those best practices
Right.
of what we've learned here in the last 10 or so 15 years on late season apps, and not that huge big slug at the end, but rather trying to slowly curtail the feeding as you get towards the end of fall. So say in your area, most if not all of your nitrogen should be down and applied by say Halloween at the absolute latest. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's one thing. The other thing here too that you mentioned specific to your situation is the planning of compact midnight. So the compact nature of it doesn't really concern me, but the midnight types in particular are very very slow to green up. I'm going to see if I can throw you some pictures real quick while we're messing around, and I got another picture queued up, and I don't want to screw up JPink, but JPink, throw this one picture up. We'll do a quick aside here, and this is tall fescue, and this is in the mid South on one of the Carolinas, and so they had a little temperature swing here recently where it was like in the 70s, almost 80, I think, and then they had a night where it dipped down to like 20, right? So these quick temperature inversions after you're greened up and after you have basically are actually mowing the plant, right? What you can do
Hmm.
here is essentially lose cell wall integrity and then cells just kind of go kaput on these new and succulent leaf tissue or leaf shoots, right? And then you lose
Right.
a grass blade. So okay, so the midnight types, it's something else that those things don't green up. I would strongly consider or just understand that those are going to be a little bit more challenging to green up. I'll throw some pictures up in the Discord that you can take a look at and have a look and see the difference here between, say, like right now, like mid March in Ohio, and then mid April, and how quickly that will change. So, all right, other things than that, as far as the pigments go, yes, you can use those, and those will help draw down some heat. And then lastly, Ray, potassium nitrate, cal nitrate, as long as you're not, super exceedingly high in
Mm-hmm.
pH. It's really not even that big of a concern, really. But one of those two at low rates, and when I say low rates, that's going to be like a tenth of a pound, a week. Just bump it along. Make sure that you have adequate carrier volume, at least a gallon per thousand, and yeah, just wait for the warm weather, man. Sit out there in the lawn
Yeah,
in
just
shorts and a tank top and hope.
yeah, just kind of like put out the lawn chair, have a cold one, as long as it's not a Keystone, because even Keystone's in short supply right now. God. But, just kind of let it all happen, and if needed, as long as your fall fertilization program was on point and you were doing that, you really don't need that much incentive for the grass to come up, because the reason why I like to quote Ryan on your fiscal year for cool season grass starting on September of the previous year is because that is when your grass is storing all of its nutrient reserves. That's when it's storing it up. And as long as you took care of that the previous fall, when the time is right, your grass is going to be raring to go. It's going to be raring to
Right.
go. No need to push it. No need to prod it. No need to whip it. Okay.
Okay.
With it good.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. I love the show.
Pre-
Uh, it's good chatting with you all.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for calling in. Thank you.
All right, we got a few questions to catch up on here in the chat. Let's start at the top and try and work our way down here. When is Matt going to put out granular products again? I don't want to answer for him, but they're working on some stuff, but I believe it's all going to be private label stuff for other companies. So in the meantime, check out Subvert and check out the Ryan Nor brand. I know he has affiliation with those, and those would be good things to check out. So Lawn Supply Company, that's the one from Ryan Nor. All right, let's see here. C.W. Jones says, I have perennial ryegrass spots from the fall 2020 overseed in my greening up Bermuda lawn in Virginia. I don't know how it survived 2 years and 2 MSM maps. Would a spot spray with Roundup hurt me? Ray, what do you think there? 2-year-old ryegrass and greening up Bermuda grass. What do you think?
Okay. What I think is that, MSM is not always a sure thing regarding cool season grasses. I'd actually have to suggest going to something a little heavier and cool season grass targeted, like Monument or Revolver, or even,
Mm-hmm.
something like that, rather than just MSM. Because did you know that MSM as a chemical has labeling for application to pastures and grazed areas at low rates? And it is not,
Wow.
for example, do not use on X grass, although the recommendation is if you have cool season pasture or hayfield, your rate is low, and you combine with 2,4-D and dicamba to minimize or mitigate adverse effect on the cool season grass. So having said that, other strategy possible is you might have to do a pre-green up or early season application of glyphosate to your Bermuda, you will expect a little bit of discoloration, but at the rates needed to kill ryegrass, that is going to be very temporary at worst. And when I say low rates, I'm thinking in terms of applying no more than 16 to 32 ounce per acre equivalent of the glyphosate, and that should take out your ryegrass. Man,
Demay
let's
had to step
see.
away, but we do have a mailbag, Ray, where someone
Question.
in northern Indiana uh
Mm-hmm.
is looking to see when he should apply a celiprin, or she.
When he or she should be applying their Soliprin, well, that depends on when his green up occurs. Yeah, when does he have green up? Because normally you are applying a Soliprin during green up, because the difference between a Celiprin and the older grub controls like imidacloprid is that a Celiprin takes time to incorporate itself in the soil. So you are okay to be a little early with your Celiprin.
Oh, early at a Celiprin app? Yeah, that's no
Yeah,
problem at
yeah.
all.
You're
You
okay.
can-
Yeah, you're okay to be a little bit earlier. Whereas with imidacloprid, I know because it doesn't last as long, you have to kind of time it as close as you can to the grubs without actually having grubs. I mean, it was a little bit of a thing trying to time it, right, Ryan? It was a
yeah, I
little bit of a
mean, you
problem.
well, and win and lose some, but basically sometime between Father's Day, 4th of July. Uh
Hmm.
oh, we get a caller.
Uh-oh.
Caller, you're live.
Hey, bud, it's your fine fescue aficionado here, calling in from Minnesota.
Evie, how are you this evening?
Hey,
I'm
Evie,
doing
how's it
well.
going, man?
I did
Are you, do,
some seed planting right now for some of my vegetables earlier because we're about 7 weeks away from our last frost.
man, can you even see the grass right now? Is there still snow up there or
Surprisingly,
no?
yes, we've been like 50, 55 all week as our highs. So it's just a little bit of
Oh,
the shade areas now and the piles at the end of the driveway. We still have snow.
all
Man,
right.
well then,
All
hey,
right.
so okay, so you're getting in the spirit here. It's it's been a long winter, I'm sure. So what is on your mind tonight? What do we need to talk about with the fine fescue or any of the grasses up there in Minnesota?
So now that everybody's seeing it, I have some dog spots, but also I've had other people ask me questions on mold damage, and more dog and bear spots. So I guess it's kind of piggybacked off of of ears, no, and turf, about seeding in spring. If I need, how long I should wait, and how close to my last frost I should be.
So I wouldn't be too concerned about getting it up now and getting it going and understanding that you're probably going to have some
Oh yeah,
attrition, right? Um,
yeah,
Fine fescue maybe a little bit more affected, maybe not quite as much as like perennial ryegrass, where some of those and it's really cultivar dependent too. Some of those cultivars can be really sensitive to frost, right, during the seedling stage. But
yeah.
I think anytime you're doing a spring seeding, especially in a northern climate or a colder time, right? So if it was a month earlier here in Ohio, I would be telling you the same thing, that um, you're you're rolling the dice a little bit. You're definitely not going to achieve 100% or 90%, whatever the seed tag is telling you, right? Is your germination percentage in that bag, you're not going to come close to it. But
Right.
the goal is to have a decent stand, get it up and going, and then overseed into that and just be careful. The only other thing I would say, and I'm not concerned with it up in your location quite as much, but with summer annual pressure and kind of dodging those spots, with pre-emergent or skipping pre-emergent altogether, and just being very very wary of crabgrass germination and going out there and getting some early post control. It's an option too, but I would go ahead and go for it now. I've always had really, really good luck. The earlier that I went, and when I say that, by like early spring, not necessarily like early like December, but early spring, always had better results than waiting and then trying to mess around with heat and irrigation, and it's not up, and then the dogs are going out there tearing the hell out of it more. Like all those kind of issues will definitely play a part in it. So get it up, get it going, try to grow it faster than they can destroy it.
Yeah.
So you think I should
That's
just send it sooner rather than later, essentially?
Yes, sir. Do a little
Yes.
test spot
Okay.
too. Save a couple of those really nice
Oh, yeah.
test spots and do some later ones. And this could be your science fair experiment, man.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean,
Get
I have several different areas. My backyard I have quite a bit of dog spots. And last year I overseeded with rye, seeing how the winter damage would do, and I didn't necessarily have that much from what I could tell. So I was gonna just overseed again in the back with the rye, but at family member's house I got some pine fescue that I was gonna put out for them. And they also have some dog spots as well, so I could test both and then leave a couple spots open to test later on as well. So
Curious of do you know what the mix is there of fine fescue species that's going out?
100% gladiator hard fescue.
Okay. Okay.
I got it
Gotcha.
special from Seed Superstore. So, and then I also have kind of because of that, and just because I don't have prodiamine on hand, I would either have to go out and buy prodiamine or quinclorac. So this year I'm just opting to skip the pre-emergent and just buy quinclorac and just be diligent about going out there and looking, or possibly doing like a blanket app, kind of early, or I guess kind of more mid-late spring up here. So
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
if you got that out pre-June, go ahead, Ray.
Okay. If because what people don't know about quinclorac is that quinclorac in and of itself can be somewhat of a pre-emergent as well if you apply it broadcast to the area in question. Because usually the normal use pattern of quinclorac is as a spot spray to visible crabgrass. But the other way to use quinclorac is when you're in your early, stages of crabgrass emergence, go ahead and do the whole area, and that can serve as your pre-emergent. And in your case, Evie, I don't worry about longevity of the quinclorac very much because you don't have a very prolonged growing season because winter comes again soon in Minnesota.
y- yep, yeah, that was the other thing I was going to say with my spring seeding here is that I have the warm season growth pattern in my cool season climate. So
Mhm.
seeding in
Mhm.
spring is less of an issue up here, and I actually had really good success doing it last year at my mom's house. So
Mhm.
Two
Mhm.
little quick, if you want to do a little FAFO, right? I would tell you two different things
hmm
to try. I'm always about adding layers of complexity if I can. Number one, shut up, Ray. Um, number one would be add a little bit of chewings fescue to your mix, like 30%, something
okay,
like that. If you can get a little bit,
Yeah, that's good
chillings
grass.
will germinate at a much lower temperature. It'll give you what they call a nurse crop, right? So something to kind of hold in there and basically surround and shelter, the hard fescue until it gets up and going. So take a look at that if you have
okay,
the opportunity to get some locally, pick some up, and just maybe try some with, try some without. That would be number one. Number two, if you have areas that are sans dog, or you can keep dogs and kids away from it, so maybe at the other location that you talked about is try some growth covers, just the fabric ones, and I can throw you a link over in the Discord to check those out. They're pretty cheap. I want to say it's like $25-$30 or something to have a whole bunch of them
Okay.
sent to your door. So again, just something else to mess around with and see if it works, and it could be a strategy that you employ going forward if it does.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Well,
Alright.
thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. It was nice that, I mean, I know you missed Matt making fun of your accent, and we'll catch you on the next one though for that. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. You
Absolutely.
betcha.
Absolutely.
He's watching, so I wanted to make sure you got that in there. All right. Thanks,
Yeah.
Evie. Look at that. Calling from the Great White North. Ray, how about that?
Mhm.
I mean, I thought
Yeah.
they still probably had snow on the ground up there.
No, I
don't
think
know.
winter is retreating early in some parts of the country, right? It seems like,
It is.
isn't it?
It's
It seems
been
like
it's been a warm spring so far in most of the continental United States here so far. All right, let's see. Uh-oh.
Ooh. Oh.
Who's calling? Caller, you're
Oh.
live. Turn
Hello,
down.
Ryan and Ray. This is Turf Truth. It's an honor to talk to Ohio Turf Man and the Grass Doctor. Flagship is BS.
What's up, guys? It's a former member of the Black Organic Society.
Joe, I love you to death, but you have
Joe.
way too much free time on your hands. Joe, I don't know, man. There's
I didn't hang up on him. He hung up. He got in, he did his joke, and he got out. Love it.
well, I mean, I think, and like I said, I love the guy, but I'm pretty sure that he lives his entire life having conversations that are no longer than a TikTok, and then he's out. All right, caller,
Hello?
down your radio. Turn down your radio,
What's up?
even though it's not a
My
radio.
radio's down. First time
Welcome
caller,
back.
long time listener. What can I say?
Yeah, welcome back.
Welcome.
Hey, I heard. Now listen, Joe's back, and Joe lives his life in 3 minutes or less in the TikTok world. So we'll try to keep this under 3 minutes if we can. Now listen, Joe, there is a terrible, nasty rumor going around that not only are you not organic, but you are no longer the organic lawn warrior, but you are literally ready to take all those T-shirts, set them on fire, and put them out with your own urine, because you are going to be the conventional lawn warrior this year. Is this accurate?
That is true. This is accurate. You heard it right.
I really want to get that TikTok of you setting those organic lawn warrior shirts on fire and then urinating on them to extinguish them. I need that in my life. I think we all do. I think we all do.
Yeah, they're actually in my garage now. I use them as like rags for cleaning up after spills and things like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay. So, let's see. Well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to throw your pictures up without. So,
No, that's
Ray,
fine. No, you can. You can.
oh, I
Go ahead.
can. Oh, wow. Look at this guy. I will send
nice.
over something here. This is a good one, and it's not too high res, but you can still get the picture. No pun intended. There we go. All right, throw that up there, J Pink. So, all right. So, Ray, Joe is dealing with some broadleaf weeds in his lawn.
Mm-hmm.
Right there across the river from Jersey. Stuff like this. It looks like mostly clover, from what I can tell. What else are you dealing with, Joe? Have you been able to ID the weeds?
So obviously I'm getting a lot of. I do get clover every year. It seems like it comes back.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of the lighter greenish grass that's popping up now. What's weird about it is some of it has seeds that are starting to form, and then some don't. But there's a delay on the YouTube, so I can't really I could see the one picture you have up now.
I
But
gave you it was the first one you
um,
sent me, where the sidewalk and the driveway are right there.
yeah. I think the other one might be a little bit better too. I'll see if I can find a
Oh, there
closer
you
one.
go.
But anyway. So the one, some of the grass I was saying is lighter and has the seed head, but some of them, like when I pull on the grass, it doesn't want to come out easily. And I feel like POA is, I know it has shorter roots and it can be pulled out very easily, but some of this stuff just doesn't seem like it wants to come out.
Not,
If that makes
but
sense.
so not necessarily an ID characteristic that I would be hanging my hat on. Is it easy to pull out or not? There's if you like that kind of method, there's 4 more steps to it, and there's a guy out in Utah with a lawn care YouTube channel that you can go check out. He'd be glad to help you out. But here in real life, where we live, that is not
Yeah.
an ID characteristic that we use. So I believe you have 100% Kentucky bluegrass lawn. Is that accurate?
No, it's
What do you have?
mostly tall fescue.
Mostly tall fescue. Okay.
Mostly
I just
tall
saw your
fescue,
MVS
okay?
365 stuff, and I thought you were pimping hard with that. So,
Oh
okay.
no, I don't. I didn't throw that down. Mine was a 90-10 mix of mostly 90% tall fescue and 10% Kentucky blue
And when'd you do that?
All right.
in the fall. It was Mountain View seed in the fall.
Okay. And so, are you familiar with how to ID Poa annua? Other than just looking at the color.
No, like I know Kentucky blue, depending on, I think that's like something with the stem, and then the grass heads are different too. I'm not 100% sure. I've seen a couple, I hate to say this, but I've seen a couple YouTube videos on it, but you can't trust everything you see on YouTube these days.
All right. Now, I'm going to see if I can find you a good graphic here. And if not, there are a couple of decent other resources. So the biggest thing is the easiest way to ID that is going to be, it's going to have the same midrib, right, going up the center of the leaf that Kentucky bluegrass will have. Kentucky bluegrass has that boat-shaped tip at the end, all that jazz. The defining characteristic between Poa annua and Poa pratensis, which is Kentucky bluegrass, is going to be the ligule. I will send you, let me see here, grass, plant, morphology, ligule. Oh, perfect. And actually, there's a great guide from my friends at Ohio State. Oh, he hung up. Well, I'll keep going there. He must not.
I don't think he knows how to use his phone.
Listen, you're getting throttled. You're getting throttled on your phone calls because you're using all your bandwidth to upload TikTok and Instagram videos. You do realize this. We're on to you.
I do realize I got 2 bars. I don't know what the hell. I don't know what the hell's going on.
You're clearly out of anytime minutes, and you're only allowed to use night and weekend minutes now. That's the problem. Okay, we're on to you. We figured it out. All right.
Goddamn dial up.
Anyway, the ligule. You're gonna have a taller ligule, tall membranous ligule on the Poa annua. You're gonna have a shorter ligule on the Poa pratensis Kentucky bluegrass. So figure out where that ligule is.
Okay.
Look at the difference there. I will send you the guide. We'll post a link in the chat here on the tubes, and you can go on there yourself and learn how to ID grass. So that's terrible. I can't. J Pink, I'm not going to read that on the air. All right, never mind. We'll talk about that one later. But anyway, I can't. I got to get it together here. All right. It's anyway. I just want to make sure you don't have Poa. The other thing, what should you spray on those weeds over there? Ray, what do you think? I mean, get this guy like a quart of Speed Zone and call it a day. Make it easy on him. What do you think?
No, actually,
Here we go.
Spring clover. I actually prefer a reduced risk option.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I prefer triclopyr.
How about Speed Zone and Triclopyr?
That's a little spicy,
Yeah. Hey, listen. When you've been organic for a
but
while, sometimes you want to go swing all the way to the
but
wild
Full
side. You know what I mean?
full
but
throttle.
but I also keep in mind that you see, triclopyr is the herbicide that is the most efficacious on clovers, and it is not flagged as an environmental or human toxin at all.
My
Triclop- Triclopyr is, basically, let's put it this way: most environmental groups don't even know what triclopyr is.
What if I
yeah,
throw out the what if I throw out the T word because I have some of that from the fall.
the what? The what?
The
The T
the
word.
herbicide that the T word.
Oh,
And you
Tenacity?
guys can guess
okay.
what herbicide that is,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Tenacity?
Tenacity. Yeah.
of course.
No.
Well,
Mm.
no, don't, because all tenacity does to clover, Joe, is just turn it temporarily white. That's all it
Okay.
does to clover. It just turns it temporarily white, but then a very small amount of triclopyr will actually kill that clover dead so that it's not likely to come back.
All right. Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good.
Start with that. Start with that, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
and remember, play
Go from
safe.
there.
Just don't go out there on your first go around with a labeled herbicide and just go wholesale on the entire yard. I would do a small area, get your legs under you, and then
Mhm.
go out. So practice on the
Yep.
practice on the JV area, and then you can go full go on the varsity, right?
Sounds good.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right, keep all those 5
Thank you,
fouls
guys.
together. You're gonna need them.
I will. I will.
All
Thank
right,
you guys, and you guys are the best. Appreciate everything you guys do.
appreciate you too, Joe. Look at that,
Have a good night.
Joe, the lawn warrior, a man of many talents on the video editing side, and yeah. Yeah. All right. Let me see here. Go to the chat. That's when. Okay, here we go. Altman Lawn Service says,
Mhm.
Ray, when should I
Yeah.
spray out the ryegrass on newly sodded Bermuda? It's been installed for about a month. The sod was overseeded by the sod farm when he's near Augusta, Georgia.
Mhm.
What do you think on new sod that's been down a month? They've had a fairly decent spring down there so far, for
Right. Well,
being, I would say
he's
they're probably maybe a little ahead of schedule, but go on.
he's again looking at putting down Revolver or Monument, probably, I want to say sometime in April. He's about ready. And the, I don't like to place, applications on dates. I place applications based on what the grass is actually doing. And has that sod rooted in? Is the Bermuda starting to actively grow? If you answer yes to both questions, then I'd say it's time to spray out, because what the people that are, you know, in the past would tell you is, oh, you can't apply anything to new sod. False. As long as it's rooted.
Caller,
Hello.
you are live.
Hey, this is Mike Harper, Harbor Explorers. How are you guys doing?
Mike, we're doing great. Couldn't be better now that we're talking to you. What do you got for us this night?
Well, I didn't replant. I did a complete burn-off renovation. Used the Jonathan Green blue mix in my front yard, which is
Mhm.
mostly tall fescue, but had some weeds and roasted about 90% of it. And my problem is I used triclopyr, and I think I used a rate that was much higher than I was supposed to. What's the chance of it waking back up and and living.
What rate are we talking about here? Did you
I think I
calculate it and
did
figure it out?
point. Yeah, it was 0.75, which is the per thousand per gallon, and that is the
So
sorry, I just
32,
got
so
out
a
of the yard.
quart, yeah, 32 ounces, quart per acre, Ray.
Quart per
So
I
acre
think so.
is
Yeah.
yeah,
it's
quart per
high, but it's
acre
not
is
like
not no quart per acre is nothing on a cool season lawn. Okay, it is nothing that I would be alarmed at or afraid of. I mean, you didn't do this to the lawn in midsummer, right? You did this in the
No, I just
fall.
did it 3 weeks ago. Just 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. Oh
oh
no!
oh
Hey,
So
if you
right
didn't,
now it's
no,
stunted. It's green, but it has gray and brown in it, and it's not growing.
well, the gray and the brown might have to do with temperature fluctuations more than the triclopyr because ordinarily triclopyr is very well tolerated by turf type tall fescue. I mean, triclopyr and
Okay.
turf type tall fescue are literally made for each other. So I wouldn't blame it on a label rate application of triclopyr. It's I mean, if somebody gave me a turf type tall fescue lawn that had broadleaf weeds in it that needed killing, triclopyr would probably be one of my first things that I'd reach for at the
Okay.
32 ounce
So
per acre rate.
where
do you
just
think
generally
right now,
speaking,
Ray, that it's just dead? Like, I mean, it's not dead, but it just sort of went dormant.
It just sort of went dormant. I think that would be my
Okay.
guess. I mean, because again, you are not in the set of conditions where I'd associate triclopyr with causing excessive damage to turf type tall fescue because it's still
Awesome.
cool,
That's
isn't
great
it?
news.
It's still cool
Yeah.
right now, isn't it?
No, next week is going to be our first day in the 80s. So we're 42 to 77, back and forth every single day and night. 35 degrees from 33, 34 degrees up to about 73, 74. So it goes up about
Oh,
32 degrees every single day.
yeah,
yeah,
you'll
that's not that hot. That's not horrible. I mean,
Yeah.
because on the other
Yeah.
hand, if you told me, you're spraying this and the daytime temperatures are in the high 80s, low 90s, I'd say, okay, that's a different story. You're on your own. But if you're doing it while it's
My
still
biggest
cool,
point. Okay. Go ahead. Sorry, Ray.
you're fine. Yeah, yeah. If
Okay.
you're doing it while it's still cool, you're fine. You're
My
okay.
biggest point was this is I'm in the transition zone in Northern California, where that little,
Mm-hmm.
the valley that goes up through California that gets all the nice weather. So we don't get, any kind of freezing, but we had a couple of freezes, and then, but my goal was to kill off the Bermuda in this yard, and that was one of the reasons that someone suggested the use of triclopyr.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, again, your time to do that kind of an operation is literally right about now. I mean,
Okay.
you get it going and continue applications until you start hitting temperatures in the high 80s, low 90s, because once you hit those temperatures, then it's time to pull back the triclopyr.
Okay. That's awesome. That's such great news. I really appreciate it.
now
I've been so
I'm not
worried to
worried.
trust my. Okay, good.
I'm not worried.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
the only thing to
just
watch out
stopped
for is
growing.
and I think come back and talk to us in about another 2 weeks based on the weather I'm looking at, nearby where I think you are, and
Up in Chico.
I think you're going to be fine. Chico.
Yeah, I'm just north of Sacramento.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for your time.
Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks for
Awesome.
calling in.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Now listen, Ray, there's something we need to
Mhm.
deal with here. Very important. And it's to pay homage to our fearless leader. I know that Johnny Fescue, not necessary, sir. Absolutely not necessary. All right.
Not
Put your credit
needed,
card-
right?
Put the credit card away. All right.
Yeah.
Go do something else with it. Okay. Go buy yourself something nice in the, marital aid section of Amazon or something. Not for her, for you. Okay. All right. Let me see. Slide down here through the chat. Blah 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 blah. Let's see here. Oh, somebody's giving away flagship. Oh, here. WMF. Hi all. I'm in Columbus, Ohio. What's up, dude? I can't work on my
Hey.
lawn much anymore. I have some product to get rid of that I can give to anyone that can pick up. Should I post details on the lawn forum or go to the TGF Discord? I'm sure there's folks that would pick it up from you. So yeah, reach out. I know there's a couple of guys and gals that would probably do that. So if you're interested, do it.
Hi all. I'm in Columbus, Ohio.
Caller, you're live, and you need to turn down your radio. Turn it down. We can hear you. To whom are we speaking?
I'm Dan.
Dan, how are you this evening, sir?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I listen to you guys all the time. I'm another Minnesota guy.
Appreciate it.
And so I'm in Minnesota as well. And I had a few different questions. And our growing season is so short. So first of all, I'm on like a 0.5, 0.75 height of cut on Kentucky bluegrass, majority perennial ryegrass. And I've done the sand capping system, Greens Master, 1600, the whole thing. And since our growing season is so short, the thing that really, really kills me in, I would say, September, October is the worm cast. And, I've heard that, if you add more sand, the better. That just hasn't been the case for me. And I'm wondering if it would be terribly wrong to kill the worms and how bad that would affect my soil.
Oh boy, there's some okay. So let's start with the first statement. And number one, kudos to you for doing that in Minnesota. That's not an easy thing to pull off. And if you're doing it successfully, then clearly you got all your stuff together. Because that's not happening by accident. So appreciate the level of effort and dedication it took to get to this point. So yeah, you're in this stage of last 5% of trying to optimize and get everything better. And certainly worms are going to be a big barrier to that. So number one, the whole idea of adding sand to prevent worms. There was some anecdotal evidence that suggested this for a long, long time, and that's sort of been the prevailing thought. However, as of late, 2018, I'll throw this over into JPink so we can put it in the chat. And
Ryan.
yeah,
Okay. The thing about sand capping is that what sand capping doesn't necessarily address that is, tied into the worm activity is if the soil below the sand is very tight and poorly drained and poorly aerated, there will be an issue with worms.
yeah.
Okay, there
So-
will be an issue with earthworm and
So well, okay. So this research that was conducted at the University of Arkansas by a talented researcher, her name is Paige, Paig Boyle, Boyle, and Paige sought to prove, okay, hey, like how much sand do we need to add to get rid of the worms? And guess what? She found out that it was actually the more sand that she added, the worse that things got with the worm casting.
Oh, well.
She was even surprised. Yeah. So she's continued to do this work. It started off back in 2018, so it still continues. She's, I believe, now defended her PhD and is now working on this as a postdoc. But there are no good answers for you other than things that are either very short-lived, like there are certain fertilizers that you can apply that will discourage worm activity, at least from the surface anyway, and that's not always the most financially responsible thing to do or a sure thing. And the other things
Mm-hmm.
that you can do are technically not legal, Ray, right?
They're not legal, but I am familiar with what will drastically reduce earthworm activity, especially on turf maintained at a half inch or lower. I'm extremely familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean that's just something that all of the golf people in the United States and the UK know. Okay, they
So
know it.
I think the other thing too that you have to be mindful of is you have to kind of change your maintenance practices. Like that's one of the things that you absolutely do have control over, right? And it's still legal. So like again, there's some good implements out there now in terms of some brush type implements and some other things that if you're committed to doing this, it's an extra step, added cost of equipment and things like that that will definitely help your cause, and then also mowing dry. So like those two things alone of being able to get those things dried out and then clear them off. Either there's some of these brushes that will go out in front of the mower, like I'm not sure what would fit on a 1600 if there are any that would do that, or if they would all have to be a separate implement. I've got to school myself up a little bit on what is the
Okay,
latest and
on a
greatest out there. Go
on a
ahead.
1600, Ryan, the brush attachment that goes on the verticutter drive unit for the 1600s and 1000s, what that will do is that brush is forward rotating, not counter rotating. So what will happen is it will break up the earthworm castings probably, but it'll throw those earthworm castings straight into the mower blades. I
Mm-hmm.
would probably look to a separate sweeper or implement where you can brush off or sweep off the green before trying to mow. I would kind of look
Yeah.
towards that.
Yeah,
Instead,
I've
I mean,
honestly, yeah, I've been crazy enough to stand out there with like my blower and
mhm.
literally blow every one of them off like a crazy person. But that just takes forever, and then I get a nice mow in, and then boom, they're back up the next day, and it's just like, yeah, I almost lose probably a month of mowing because when you mow over that, they just look like patties in the lawn, right? They look
Yeah.
terrible. It just really makes your nice turf look like crap, and it's not very
Mhm.
sightly, and it's just something that I'm just sick of, and it's like every fall, it's just something that I dread because I know what I'm up against, and I know there's not a clear cut answer. One other quick question was, so like if I'm planting dahlias and tubers, is there anything that I can put into the soil to deter anything from eating my dahlias and tubers from the underneath the ground? You guys find any luck with anything like that?
Not from I'm more familiar with preventing like deer and other wildlife, rabbits, things like that, trying to deter them, not so much from underground necessarily. Ray, you got anything?
Well, the only other thing that I would try for, predation by various animals is extremely hot red pepper.
Red pepper.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
red
that's
pepper,
one of the things. Capsaicin, basically.
capsaicin, like when I want animals to stay out of a flower bed or a garden area, I literally use the red pepper that's too hot to eat. Like, the ghost chili or the Trinidad scorpion chilies.
Oh well.
Yeah, the ones where you see the people on YouTube biting into one of those and they almost die from it.
I
I
was gonna
use
say,
that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Wow.
that's not like something that you just casually, for example, throw into a pot of chili because you'll kill all
Yeah.
your dinner guests. I mean, I'm talking about that kind of chili. It's where I remember having a can of ground ghost chili powder. My God, that stuff worked. It almost worked on me too because I got the blowback from it.
I was gonna say when I look
Oh,
at those things and my rectum cries, so I don't even go near that stuff. But
right. Well,
the
Yeah.
I do
go
appreciate
ahead.
you guys, and I thank you for all that you guys do online and all the other forums that you guys are on and in the Discord and all that. We truly learn a lot from you guys, so thank you very much for taking your time to do all this stuff.
Appreciate it, Dan. Thank you so much. I'm gonna
Thank
have
you.
JPink drop
Thank you.
a quick link. Take a look at these brushes, and we'll have that in the YouTube chat. Take a look at those, see what you think. I think that'll help out. But appreciate the call tonight.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Look at that, two Minnesota calls, Ray, and it's the first day of spring. It's gonna be hot to trot in the lawn space this year. I can tell already. I can tell
Yeah,
already.
yeah.
So
Well,
let's look
I'm looking at
chat
this
here.
at the brush that you put a link up to, and that's a pretty interesting thing because it looks almost like a broom that you throw
Yeah.
in front of the greens mower. I mean, it's like a big, purpose built push broom, and I could imagine that being kind of useful for even for the purpose of kind of combing up the grass. Although what I typically use to comb up grass is I set my groomer down, except only at like 30% of actual height of cut.
Yeah.
So it's just teasing the tops. It's not cutting in.
The brush, those slip down brushes are highly effective. The sports metal ones are probably some of the most simple ones out there. Wow, that was intense for a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably some of the best ones out there. So certainly
Oh, and they
other
even have them
opportunities.
for rotary mowers too. That is neat. That is neat.
Yeah.
I mean, because
Yeah, if
I
you're down,
recognize that mower, like
it's the
a Honda
Massport. No, this is the
Massport.
Massport. Yeah, it's got the Honda engine on it, but
Oh,
that's the old Rotorola right there.
the Rotorola. Whoa,
So it's
man,
got
yeah,
a solid drum drive on the back end. That's a
mm-hmm.
that's a badass setup
rear,
right there.
yeah, that is the mower for putting down stripes when a greens mower is not feasible. Those are good mowers.
Caller, you are live. To whom do we have the pleasure of speaking?
Hello?
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 Hi. How are you?
Hi. Oh, we're doing great.
Hi.
To whom do we have the pleasure of speaking?
This is Brent from Professional Turf Services. How are you?
Brent, it is great to hear your voice this evening. Where in the world is Professional Turf Services located? How can we find
It
you?
is located in Ludlow, Massachusetts.
All right, Ludlow. I was not that far away. A couple weeks ago, I was up there in Providence. Had a couple of
Oh,
Gansons
wow.
and tried to really
Cool.
take in the scenery there. So it was a good time to be there. But listen, let's not talk about me. Let's talk about you. What do you got for us this evening, sir?
Oh, I love your show, and I'm watching it now. I turned down the radio, as you say, but I'm trying to discourage my customers from doing a spring um, spring dethatching because we have a lot
Mm-hmm.
of bent grass here. And
Oh
I
boy.
just
Mm-hmm.
I put out into the universe why that might be a problem.
So the question you're asking us is if you were if you were to bring along a little bit of muscle, right? Like Ray, look at Ray exudes muscle. If you look at this guy without a shirt on, it frightens people. Okay, but
Yeah.
and not
I'm
in
literally
a bad way, not in a bad way
I'm
either.
literally exactly the same size as Bruce Lee was right now.
He's a tough guy.
And
Yep.
yeah.
Ray's a tough guy too. Ray is the kind of guy who would have to eat a whole bunch of food to make weight for the wrestling meet, whereas I would be running around in a sleeping bag, covered in a sweatsuit to make weight for the wrestling meet.
Oh
But
yeah.
I digress there for a moment here. So if I was going to have this conversation with a customer, I would say, look, there are reasons why and why not we do every single cultural practice we do to your lawn. The most basic cultural practice we do is mowing, right? Well, why do we, do we
Right.
mow every single day on your lawn? No. Why would we not do that? Well, it'd be great to do, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense from an economic impact and from a quality impact in most cases, right? Why do we not mow every 4 weeks? Well, because that's also going to be a detriment to quality and also economics in a different form and fashion, right? So the same could
Right.
be said for dethatching, right? There's a time and a place to do this, and in many cases, whether you have bent grass or not, it's not the time nor the place to do that. Okay. So with the bent
Right.
grass issue, I think what the things I would lay out is okay. Well, number one, if is this a problem for you? Yes or no? Do you like the way that this looks? And if anybody says that they like bent grass that's mowed over an inch and a half and likes the look of it, they're a masochist, and you should probably stay far away from them because they probably have whips and
Keep
chains and
away,
stuff
they're
in their house.
crazy.
It's just
They're,
weird
keep away,
stuff.
they're crazy, okay?
Yeah,
They're
never go in the
nuts.
basement to take. Never go in the basement to take payment. All right, that's all I'm saying. So, um, so if they are not okay with it, then the conversation becomes this: is that by dethatching it and opening up all these stoloniferous growing points, right, that are above, right, on the surface, you're going to open up more growing points. It's going to allow this stuff to, number one, become more dense and harder to control, and number two, we're going to create material, plant parts that are going to allow it to spread and potentially establish in other parts of the lawn, right? It makes no
Yep.
sense to do that if that's what you're trying to get rid of. So
Right.
the only time, and this is the only case I would ever do any type of dethatching work on bent grass, is if I was actively engaged in a program with tenacity to selectively remove it. And the way I mean that is that, our standard course of treatment on those types of situations is going to be 5 apps, 5 days apart, 3.2 fluid
Right.
ounces per acre. So low rates, high frequency, and knock that stuff out. Now, in between there, it's going to look like it's dead, and you got to dethatch it and pull that stuff out of there. And that's the only case
Right.
that I would ever see you need to dethatch. So,
Right.
my other question for them would be, what are you afraid of? Like, what is going to happen if we don't dethatch the lawn?
hmm
Tell me. I'm just curious. And I'm not saying to you. I'm just saying in general
Oh,
is, what do you
yeah,
think the worst
I
thing that's
get
going to
it.
happen?
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm a lawn treatment company,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I outsource. I have friends in the industry that will do that, and they will do the dethatching bit of it. But I don't. It's such a Herculean effort to get rid of and look at these bare spots for a long period of time, especially in the spring, and it's a tough job.
No,
And you
no
know
doubt.
what?
And I would go ahead, Ray.
And what I'm going to tell you is that the time that I would not be tearing up a cool season lawn in your location would be I wouldn't be tearing into somebody's lawn in the spring right before summer. I just wouldn't do it. And
Right.
again, the only time that I would consider tearing up somebody's lawn is if I'm in the process of killing and removing something like bent grass, which has been killed by selective herbicides to make way
Right.
for fall reseeding or overseeding. But otherwise, I don't see the justification for doing this very invasive practice to a lawn in the spring. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
it's it for, and for some people, I suppose they're thinking if you rip up this thing with the desatcher, it's going to help. Nothing could be further from the truth because normal maintenance practice for bent that's maintained as a desirable turf is you do rip it up, you scalp it, you then regrow it. That's how you take care
Right.
of bent grass when it's a desirable species. So, in other
Yep.
words, by dethatching it, you're doing exactly what the bent grass wants you to do to it to help it
Yes.
survive.
Yes. Yep. Yep. You're right. You're right.
Well,
Hey, I
Okay.
thank you. I appreciate it.
yeah.
I love your show,
and I will continue watching, and I will uh, continue to promote it. Thank you so much, guys.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks so much for calling in tonight.
All
Thank
right,
you.
love
Thank
you
you for
guys.
calling.
All right.
Love you too.
Ray, let me ask you this. In a
Mhm.
case like that, a couple things that came to mind as you were talking there, it was number one, I don't know, I have no idea what a service charges, right? Like an LCO charges to do that type of work. But, maybe that's an opportunity to come in and upsell yourself
Mm.
on, hey, let's get you on a wetting agent program because this is going to be healthier not only for the grass but also for the soil, blah blah blah. To use that as a mitigation strategy if there are thatch issues present, or if somebody perceives there to be
Mhm.
thatch issues present. And secondly, there's some work that suggests that the addition of sugars like molasses and stuff like that can have some effect on it.
Can can some of
And that's what I'm saying is like, so maybe if you really want to, buy and go all in on something like that, is sell that. I have more faith in the ballpark pseudoscience of of molasses working than telling somebody, hey, I'm going to come here and tear the asshole out of your lawn in May and then sew it back in for you and hope that everything goes well this summer.
Mhm. Yeah, especially when you're talking about a cool season grass. And correct me if I'm wrong, but my usual rules about thatch management on warm season grasses. Do a lot of those
Mm.
rules also apply to cool season grasses, and about right mowing height and right
Yep.
fertilizer amounts at the right time?
Agreed. That's so critical.
Right. Hmm.
Caller, you're live. To whom do we have the pleasure of speaking?
This is Josiah Thornton with Thornton Advantage Lawn Care in Atlanta, Georgia.
Man, look at that. That
All
was the
right.
slickest. That was the slickest intro
that,
we've had all night.
that was slick.
You have won the show, sir. We're gonna actually
You win.
we're gonna clip that audio, and we're gonna buy you a free month of the phone made, like the answering service for you, and that's how it's gonna answer for everybody that calls in. Because let me tell you what, that that right there would sign me up for a full year package, like right now. Listen to this.
Well,
All right. So, all right, all the other BS aside, how are you this evening, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. Um, Trying to hang in there, just getting ready for spring to get started down here. Things
Mm-hmm.
aren't quite out of dormancy with the Bermuda and zoysia, but
Mm-hmm.
the question I had was I've noticed on some of my Zenith zoysia, a few lawns, that I got these weird brown spots in the
Mm-hmm.
turf, and I can't identify it. There wasn't any signs of disease before going into dormancy, and I can't put my finger on what it is and what to do with it.
Mm. Ray,
Okay.
I know nothing about zoysia, so I'm gonna bow out. But I'm just gonna ask Spring Dead Spot. What are we dealing with here?
No, no. You know what that is? That is literally the manifestation of what's most likely large patch.
Large Pats. That's what I'm thinking. I'm not Spring Dead Spot. That's
Yeah,
Bermuda.
and
Go on.
and with large patch, when you see the damage occurring, is literally several months too late as far as a fungicide application goes. But moving forward, I can suggest that you treat it now as the grass is emerging from dormancy with a large patch effective fungicide, and then make note of those lawns and plan on treating them in the late summer and fall with a large patch preventative program.
Okay, okay.
Okay, I
Now,
mean that. And go ahead.
no, no, go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, so what you're seeing right now is basically large patch damage that has occurred over the winter, because the time to actually be watching for this is literally in the winter as the grass, or in the fall as the grass is starting to go dormant. That's when you watch for it. But full manifestation of the damage may not be apparent until spring green up. That's when
So
you're going to
Ray,
notice.
if he's gonna
Yes.
go back and catalog these lawns and know that next year he's got to get on top of those, what would his strategy be to both timing that application and what type of fungicide should he be looking at?
Okay, what he's going to be looking at is in the fall. Like, when do you go dormant, sir? When does your
Uh,
zoysia go dormant?
Usually by Halloween, it's pretty much done.
Okay,
But it
usually by
really,
Halloween.
it, yeah, it's really weird because we'll get here in Georgia, we'll get one year we had 80-degree temperatures all the way until Thanksgiving. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really kind of weird. It's not, but typically,
It's
if everything is normal, then we'll
mm-hmm.
we'll have it's usually dormant by the end of October, going into the beginning of November.
Okay. So what that tells me is you're going to do something like high rate azoxystrobin, for example, in, I want to say, September. And what I'd actually like you to look at is Bayer Environmental Sciences has put out a program regarding large patch management in warm season grasses, and it kind of outlines and details what you need to apply and when you need to apply it. And
Okay.
they like to use this product called ProStar. And but actually tend to use ProStar more as a curative product. Like, say I'm a bit late on my application and I'm starting to see a problem, then that's where ProStar comes in. Likewise, I would probably do ProStar on the lawns that have the damage right now,
Okay.
because I still consider you in curative mode, because you have the disease already and those lawns didn't get the preventative application in September. And the other thing that I would look at is, do these lawns have a nematode problem?
Mm.
Mm.
And the
Mm.
reason why I say that is because I have noticed an association between nematodes and zoysia and incidence of large patch infection.
Okay.
Look at that.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll have to
so
scout for that.
We went ahead. We threw that link up in the chat on YouTube of that bear. There's like a white paper that they put out. Actually, it's pretty good.
Mhm.
Kind of lays everything out and makes it about as straightforward as they can
makes
make it, because it is a trick. It's tricky, man. And I will say this of in any of the patch diseases, right? And large patch is slightly different than what we deal with up here in the north, but the timing and of fungicide applications of those can be exceedingly frustrating, because sometimes you think you got it nailed and you find out the next year that it didn't work, right? And same thing
Mhm.
for the vice versa there. So it's uh it's an interesting issue to have. Ray, anything from a recovery standpoint that he should be aware of?
Okay, the other consideration that I would give is, number one, your nitrogen rate. Other consideration would be your soil pH. I mean, those are things to consider, because what I find happening is the worst thing you can do to a zoysia lawn is have it on high rates of nitrogen 2 or 3 months before dormancy. I would kind of avoid that. I would avoid that. I'd start to kind of pump the brakes on my nitrogen applications 2 to 3 months before that Halloween, date that you gave me. And so what that means is it's okay to fertilize some in spring and in early summer, but by August, September, I literally want your last fertilizer application, your nitrogen especially, to be kind of tailing off and ending. And the other consideration that I give is how's the thatch in these lawns?
The
You know,
thatch is fine. I pull cores
thatch is
out of them.
fine. Well, what I say about thatch is, secondly, how high are these lawns being kept? What's the height of cut?
Higher than higher than they should be, because a lot of homeowners here, or a lot of the companies, are only having the lawns mowed every 14 days. So
Oh
about two and a
gosh.
half inches, I think.
Oh wow,
Man.
wow. Woo,
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
wow.
Uh-huh.
Wow. I mean,
So
because to me, 2.5 inches is typically the point at which I see a myriad of diseases in a zoysia lawn, not just the large
mhm.
patch. I also see Pisium. I also see dollar spot. Uh, and that is all related to how when you keep zoysia tall in a warm and wet and humid climate like Atlanta, you just ask for
And then you
disease,
irrigate.
period. And then you water on top of that. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Because
Yeah.
as you might know, I'm from Hawaii, right?
Mhm.
And any zoysia lawn that is not mowed low here in Hawaii, when we go into our winter wet season, which goes between November and March here typically, those are the lawns that get diseased the worst. They rot and die.
Yeah, well, you try to get the homeowners and explain that to them, but yeah, they just will not listen.
They will not listen, and I think it's lucky for them that sod is cheap in Atlanta. Lucky for them. No, that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to
Oh,
say
Yeah.
Ray.
because
Don't give me the woe is me $5 sod thing. Listen, you know, the
Well,
if it's still $5 and inflation's done what it has, like that sod's cheaper than it's ever been for you. You should buy all that sod,
Yeah.
all the sod you can, right?
Yeah, buy it and stockpile it, right? Buy it and stockpile it. I mean, man.
yeah.
Uh,
Well,
But having
I was the Pro Stars. I never thought about using that. What I was thinking about was propiconazole and oxystrobin was something I
okay,
was thinking about using on it once,
but
if it was in fact large patch.
however, I consider propiconazole and azoxystrobin combined. That would be an acceptable preventative application, but I do not count on that for treating actual, active large patch or live large patch. It's okay as a preventative, don't get me wrong. And like the equivalent air product to an azoxypropiconazole application would be their fungicide Armada. And
Okay.
that,
Hmm.
is similarly very effective as a preventative, but it doesn't do as well if you try to apply it when you actually have disease. I mean, when you actually have disease, basically your only hope is that high label rate of ProStar. And even then, that's not guaranteed. not
Wow.
guaranteed. I mean, so yeah, large patch is kind of a bad thing to deal with, Ryan. It's just not. There's no fun involved in it.
No,
It's all
and
heartache.
yeah, it's one of those unfortunate things that there's nothing sexy about dealing with it or defeating it, right? It's just kind of one of those
Mm.
things that you make all the preparation in the world, and not always are you successful, and that's what could be frustrating about it. So
Yeah,
I get it.
but in the last several years, though, Ryan, I've had some very good success. But you know
Hmm.
what the game changer was for me? Addressing my nematodes. That was the game changer for me.
Mm.
Because once I went on a sting nematode eradication program on these zoysia lawns, that ended it. That ended the large patch.
It's amazing that there's that correlation there. Never would have known that, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
what when
oddly
when you
enough,
talk about the I'm sorry.
oddly enough, the nematicide that is labeled for control of sting nematodes in turfgrass, residential turfgrass, is also an extremely potent SDHI fungicide.
Okay.
Okay, and little tip on the lawns that do have a large patch problem, my preferred fungicide then becomes this product called Exteris Stress Guard. And what
Mm-hmm. Inject
Exteris
it into my
Stress Guard
veins.
is, Exteris Stress Guard is it's a combination of trifloxystrobin, which is a very effective fungicide against leaf spotting diseases and even large patch disease, and added to that is the SDHI fungicide nematicide called fluopyram. And there's two reasons for having fluopyram. One is fluopyram is very effective for dollar spot, but the side effect of treating a lawn with Exteris for large patches that you're administering effective rates of fluopyram for the nematodes as well. So you're actually treating the cause of the problem in this case, not just the symptom. So that's just some food for thought, something to consider.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. A lot to chew on. And
Yes, sir. That's why we record these, so you can watch it back over and over again and take it all in. But yeah, well, I'm sure we'll be doing more of these here come this spring and summer. So if that spurs more thought, more questions, or whatever, feel free to dial us up. Or if you want to pound out a question real quick and you don't remember, and you don't want to forget, rather, is you can always hit us up at mail@thegrassfactor.tv. That's mail@thegrassfactor.tv. Check us out right there. Also, J Pink, good time to plug our Patreon, right? So www.patreon.com/burn and return. You can join us over there for the low price of an airport beer. You can get on our private chat server, ask us questions whenever you want. And I'm not just pitching our caller right now, I'm pitching everybody. So check it out, see if it's for you or not. But caller, thanks so much for calling in. Josiah, Josiah, is that right?
that is right, sir.
All right, I remembered it. It came back to me, so I appreciate it. Thanks for calling in, man. It was a cool subject. It was a good one to get on, and I always like getting educated on zoysia, Ray. I think it's listen, that should be the T-shirt. Zoysia, it's better than centipede, right? That's it right there.
Yeah, that'll just trigger. Actually, Matt has a zoysia love. He loves
does.
zoysia.
He
Matt loves
does.
zoysia, but then that's because, and you know what the surprising thing is that that is in spite of Zoysia giving him a bad time a few times as well. It's in spite of him.
He's a masochist. He really is. We need to get that. We need to get that shirt made up for him. Hey, Josiah, thanks
guys.
again for calling in,
Appreciate it.
man. Have a great
All
evening,
right.
man.
You too. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks for calling, man.
Look at that, man. I don't know why I said spring dead spot. I brain farted there, but yeah, the any of the patch
spring dead-
diseases.
Yeah, the
Well,
spring dead
spot's
spot
pretty
actually.
easy. Now,
Yeah, that's pretty simple. Nowadays, I mean, what is it? You go out with the full rate of something like Kabuto or Exemplar in the fall, and then no spring dead spot, right? I mean, that's not too strenuous.
no,
And
it's not.
Fortunately,
It's not cheap.
fortunately, it's not cheap. Well, and fortunately, spring dead spot mostly hits Bermuda. It mostly hits Bermuda. I mean, that's my recollection of it. And fortunately, as I said, the treatment for spring dead spot in Bermuda is not that strenuous, and it tends to be extremely effective. I mean, it works. If you do the application, it works.
Oh, right here you go.
Mhm.
This says, chat question: what's the best way to treat centipede grass that's not had any pre-emergent or post-emergent and is now just starting to green up? Ooh. What do you
You know
think,
what?
Ray?
Don't do anything to it. Leave it
Listen to
alone.
this.
No, really, leave it alone. I mean, because where centipede becomes the problem child is the more you apply to it, the more you do to it, the harder it is to deal with. Leave it alone. I mean, with centipede, it is very easy to overdo and be digging yourself a grave with the centipede. It doesn't like to be fertilized. It doesn't like a lot of herbicides. And so less is more on centipede.
And I again, zero experience with centipede, but everything that you and Matt both say about it makes me want to go try it just because I don't know.
No, and you know what? Ryan, I have nothing against centipede. And in fact, I specifically recommend that for people that have or want a lawn on acidic and poor soils. I tell them do centipede because otherwise, if they don't have centipede, at least in my location, they're going to get chained to chasing their soil pH constantly. Okay? I mean, because I know neighborhoods here in Hawaii where all of the lawns are centipede, except for some people that wanted to be creative and avant-garde and plant zoysia. And the centipede lawns don't get fertilizer, they just get mowed and they look fine. Whereas the zoysia lawns, well, there's zoysia lawns growing in acidic soil, so that gets interesting.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Let's see here. All right, let's see. Those new doing it, blah blah blah. Oh, Johnny Fesky says the airport beers are what the $50 is for. Anyone? All right, here we go. This is from Jack B. Jack says, anyone got a favorite 111 with N from ammonium sulfate?
Ooh. I don't think they
Like-
even make one really because
I had to get mine custom blended last year.
yeah, and the closest thing I can think of to an ammonium-based 111 is Yara.
Yeah, and it's not. So look at the.
But you know what
Ag
Yara is?
Mhm.
Yara is nitrated ammonium phosphate. That is their end source. So That's kind of why there's a special place for me for Yara because of that nitrated ammonium phosphate.
I mean, if I was gonna, sometimes you don't really have the best option. So I think Aldo had said Equalizer from the Lawn
Mhm.
Supply Company, and it is just fine. It's a soluble powder, so if you want to spray it, if you want to spread something, Ray, here's here's my sort of hack, I guess, if you want to call it that, would be get you some Yara Turf Royale, right, which is a
Mhm.
21-7-14. And if you
Mhm.
really, really need a P and K, if you absolutely need it, get yourself a bag of MAP and get yourself a bag of sulfate of potash, right? And you can
Mhm.
make those separate apps of additional phosphorus and additional potassium separately if you absolutely need them.
Mhm.
Not the
Well,
easiest thing in the world to do, but unless you're going to get a
not the
custom blend,
easiest.
I don't know if you're going to find it. I'll look and see here though too, real quick.
However,
There's one other idea I have.
how, however, in a lot of cases, Ryan, I've seen hundreds of thousands of square feet of turf grown on nothing but Yara 16-15-15. Okay, I've
Mm-hmm.
seen a lot of very very nice grass grown on nothing but that. I mean,
I believe it.
special no special fertilizer. It's just enough nitrogen from that 16-15-15, or if somebody wanted to be more nitrogen forward, turf royale. If they didn't need as much P, throw it on turf royale to supply the nitrogen requirement, and done. Simple.
Yeah, Yara does make
Lot
a
of
triple 15. I just don't know if
hmm
you're gonna find it anywhere that's stocking it. That's Turf Royale is
yeah, I
a little bit easier to come by, and I think that would be
hmm
the question. And most, let me see here.
most
If you
cases.
have,
Well, now here's the scary thing, though, Ryan, is what the factories in Europe shut down, the Yara factories shut down.
yeah,
Are they? Is that even going to be available anymore? Because for the many years, I take it for granted that I call up my suppliers and they have the Yara 16-16-16 because most lawn and landscape people in Hawaii, they bring that in and they order that by the pallet because that's
yeah,
their primary fertilizer. I mean, they just use it. But
I believe it.
I'm now kind of afraid, given what we've been talking about over the last several months about how the fertilizer factories in Europe are all closed down due to lack of natural gas supply.
Yeah, I think
That
that's where they were bringing natural gas in over the sort of a burner return topic, right? It's fitting that we're talking about
hmm
it here on on Sunday night, but there's definitely going to be. I think you're going to see a shortage of that stuff. It's made in Norway. I think most of their smaller stuff, their turf type
yeah,
stuff is
most
made there. So that's
mhm.
that's going to be an issue for sure. Where there was something else here, real quick. Somebody said no. Okay. Um. Oh, Aldo said plant Marvel and Nutriculture. That's right.
Mhm.
That's right, Aldo. You know about that Nutriculture stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah,
They
that
have some stuff
that
that's all
nutriculture.
soluble stuff,
Yeah,
but I
but I
don't
think
believe they're using
it
a lot of ammonium sulfate in their products. I think a lot of theirs are urea based.
and that equalizer, Ryan, that
Hmm.
product was specifically designed to be all ammonium and nitrate nitrogen.
Hmm.
Matt and I kind of worked on the formula there to because I said that your ideal turf fertilizer as a soluble would be mostly ammonium and nitrate nitrogen. And you know what? Matt got it done. As
He
usual,
always
Matt got it
does.
done. And because like your typical like Peter's 2020,
Mm-hmm.
approximately 10% of the nitrogen in that Peter's 2020 is urea based.
About that.
Yeah, it
I
is
was
about
just
that much.
we got Evie is jumping in here into my DMs and is showing me there is a product called Greenview,
Mm-hmm.
Green View. It's a fruit and vegetable fertilizer is how it's tagged in
Mm-hmm.
the Ace Hardware catalog.
And
Now it's not necessarily something you can get everywhere, I think, but look at that.
but yeah,
20
I
23
mean,
bucks off the shelf at the local Ace. So I'm
at the
looking
local
right
Ace,
now. Yeah.
well, aside from the ferric oxide that
Ah,
I see, it's like I just ignore it. I don't expect anything special out of that because, as we all know, when you combine ferric oxide and ferrous sulfate with ammonium phosphate, you're literally taking away a little bit of the phosphate and all of the iron because it just combines with the phosphate to form insoluble and not available ferric phosphate. There.
yeah. And
I mean, that just goes into the category of
how about that?
nice try, but not quite.
I'm looking at it's in stock in a lot of different places here. I'm just checking
Hmm.
a couple of different random ones. 02108. Check. Let's check our friends in Boston.
Oh,
No. Oh, yep.
yep.
It's in stock in the outskirts there. So yeah, I would highly take a look at this. It's not a bad product to have on hand. And let's see, 33 pounds for 20 bones. Ray is what I'm seeing on here.
Hmm.
Let me send this
Yeah.
to.
And as I said, I have nothing against 111 because the lawn wannabes, I know they always talk bad about 111. And I suspect it's because 111 makes them look bad. Because if your turf is phosphorus or potassium deficient, you switch from a high nitrogen fertilizer to a feeding or two of 111 and the turf looks great. What does that tell you? Your grass was missing phosphorus and potassium because your high nitrogen turf specific fertilizer wasn't supplying phosphorus and potassium.
Well, and I think too that's something that that's a whole topic to not get engaged in right now in terms of like the whole directional analysis of soil testing and
Yeah,
anyway. All right.
yeah,
Anyway.
yeah.
Anyway. All right. Let's see if we got. There was another question in here. All right. Matt Michael says, if you have had issues of leaf spot and melting out, when should you start treating cool season in the Chicago area? Well, so Matt, if you're in Chicago, I mean, leaf spot season can start as soon as April, right? So you
Yep.
better get out in front of it if you're serious about this.
Mhm.
Okay. Caller,
Okay.
you're live. With whom do we have the pleasure of speaking?
Hi, this is Jack, calling from New
Jack,
Jersey.
Jersey. Jack from Jersey. How are you this evening, sir?
Jack from Jersey. I'm doing
How
well.
are
Nice
you?
to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you. Are you I have to ask because it's the only basketball team besides Rutgers that I know from New Jersey, but are you a St. Peter's fan right now? Are you riding that train?
A little bit. I'm not a huge college ball fan, but
Okay. Well, you got to
although I do have a
appreciate the kid.
sister in Knox.
Where?
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I do have a sister in Knoxville, and I saw that Matt's team just got knocked out, so I'm sure he's
Ooh,
not too
yeah.
happy.
Oh, he's just ready. He's counting down the days to football season, so he doesn't care. But all right,
Yeah.
Jack,
He
how can we help you this evening?
I have two questions for you. One is, so I have moved into this house like 18 years ago. So I have an old lawn, I guess you would say, right? A mixture of everything, cool season. And
Mhm.
I guess I was trying to figure out like how to, so I turned typical homeowner, trying to make my lawn better. Started watching YouTube. I found the normal, the crew of characters. And then at some
Mhm.
point in time, I caught one of Matt's videos and realized, okay, this guy, brings something more, is sharing more knowledge than some of the other folks that are just, largely selling products and whatnot. But I guess what I want to know is like how realistically, how much can you improve an old lawn? Like I see plenty of the videos, everybody's, killing it off and planting down new cultivars and all that fun stuff and, modern things. But I have like 50,000 square feet. My property's 2 acres, but half of that is lawn, right? So, it's not realistic unless I wanted to do it in sections or something. And I don't think I have that kind of ambitions, right? But, how, I guess that's like kind of my curiosity is how good can you get a older lawn looking?
So I will say this is number one, it depends. But number two is I think you'd be surprised at how good you can make it look and be reasonably good looking throughout most of the growing season. Now in Jersey, right? Like you can have some summers that are the absolute pits of hell, right? In terms of
Right.
heat, moisture, all that kind of stuff. But if you can learn to live with the fact that, okay, hey, listen, when it gets, really, really hot and really, really wet all at the same time, the lawn might not look as good, right? And sort of live through some
Yeah.
of those challenges and try to fight another day. Um, here's what I would say is that the getting the basics right to start is, and then adding a layer as you feel like you've mastered each one of those layers and go up from there. So, the first one obviously would be I don't you probably don't have irrigation or anything like that, right? On a lawn
No,
that size?
I actually got
Okay.
a quote 2 years ago. They wanted like 7,000 just for half my yard. Like, yeah, no
Yeah,
thanks.
that sounds about right. Okay. So no irrigation. All right. So then that tells us a couple of things of when we need to get products and trying to time things around rain, things like that. Second thing would be mowing.
Yep.
What are you mowing with and how frequently are you able to mow on a lawn that size?
So thankfully, I'm a work from home. I'm another IT guy that's into lawns. I know you guys talked about that at one point, laughing about that. But so I do
All
get
the
to work from
time.
home. So yeah, so I mow. I'll mow as well. So like things have improved from from the different things that I have learned so far, right? So I can get out there probably every 3 to 4 days in the
Okay.
in the heavy growing seasons. Try and make sure the blades are sharp. I got a lawn tractor. I mean, actually, last fall I was pretty happy with the way the lawn was working, so I'm making progress.
Mm-hmm.
Um, kicking around the idea of a PGR this year. Been
Okay.
watching. I know you did the show the other night. I got about halfway through that.
Okay.
Strictly because like you said, no irrigation, right? So preparing for the stress of summer. I know that's one
Mm-hmm.
benefit. Maybe a little bit darker green is a benefit. Mowing
Yeah.
less is a benefit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was thinking about trying that this year. Um, you know, just to add one extra thing to the what I've been working on.
Makes sense. All right. So then real quick then, spraying and spreading, what kind of equipment are you using to get that stuff done?
So I have a tow behind sprayer, 31 gallon to one. Was it North Star or something?
Yep.
I forget what
The
it's
North Star
called. And then
sprayer.
I
Yep.
have yep. And I also have now I've got a tow behind spreader as well. I was trying to get my exercise by pushing that thing, and last time I did it, it was
No.
95 degrees. I'm like,
No.
you know what? Screw
No.
this.
No.
So I'm over it.
No. That's a no.
I'm over it.
That Yeah, that's some Richard Simmons sweating to the oldies shit right there. Yeah, that's gonna be a no from me. But okay. So all that being said is, I think a couple of things is, if you can uh, do these three things and then see where that gets you, and evaluate it after a year. And one thing I will
Okay.
caution you on is taking too short or too small of a sample size and saying, wow, this didn't work or that didn't work, right? You see that you're making progress. So, and I would also document that with photos, right? So, because it's hard to remember what it looked like. Hey, what did it look like in April when I'm trying to think back in August? Those are all, telltale things, and hopefully will allow you to do this plan. So number one is mow it, and really try to stick to that 1/3 rule. I know it's an old rule of thumb, old wives' tale kind of thing, but it's really been proven to work. If you want to keep the grass without stress, as much as possible, try and do that. Number two is from a fertility standpoint, I would love to dive deeper into your program. Maybe Ray, maybe even have him on the show and talk a little bit more about it. Who knows? But
I think so. I mean, yeah, come
yeah,
on the
if you're trying to
show.
max it out, but so that I would be interested to hear more about the fertility plan and try to nail that, especially in the fall. So coming into this year, not sure what you did last year or anything like that, but I think really trying to nail that here over these next 6 to 7 months for a really really good thing, I would say is, you're really not going to worry too much about disease, I would imagine. So in that case, I would focus more on weeds. Like if you do have weeds, trying to identify those correctly, and then have us help you out with selecting the right products to control those, get rid of them, and focus on pushing all the energy to that beautiful. How do we want to say this, Ray? It's like older grass, like an older woman. It knows what it wants and it knows how to get it, Ray. It's the same thing with grass,
Yep,
right? You
yep,
know,
yep. I
that's all you got
mean,
to say about that. All these hipsters and their young grasses that are high maintenance,
Mhm.
needy, cost a bunch of
And that's a
money.
good
Like,
point. I
hey,
am trying to keep it as low maintenance as possible. Yeah.
there you go,
and
there you go.
and you know
I
what?
don't want to spend every living moment on it, but I'm just trying to maximize what I have. Yeah, and I'll be happy with that. Yeah, I'm not trying to show
Yeah,
off anything.
because you know what? In a lot of cases with lawn care, I am the advocate of the less is more mentality. Okay, less is more, and less can work better provided you do things at the right time. For example,
Right.
your heaviest fertilizing time should literally be starting in September up until
September.
the
Yeah.
time that the grass starts to, go to sleep for the winter. And in spring, your big concern should be weed management. That's when you hit the weeds and hit them hard. And so going through late spring and summer, the thing that you then worry about the most is keeping the grass mowed.
Right.
It is not like what you see on YouTube where these guys are spreading or spraying something on the grass, it seems like every week. That's not it at all.
Right. And that was something that I appreciated learning from Matt and from you guys as well. It's like, you know, you get sucked into those videos and you see these, you think this is what you got to do. I even tried some of those products, didn't really see anything shocking. And then when you start to learn it isn't really all that necessary, it's like, wow, I'm glad I tuned into the right channel. you know, um,
Thank you. Thank you for
no, I appreciate what you
yeah,
guys
I
do
mean,
for sure. A lot of us homeowners do. That stumble across. Yeah, it didn't take me long to realize that there was there's a difference, in what you're trying to do here. So I appreciate it.
We
And then to your point
appreciate you
about
too.
the weeds and sorry,
No, I said we appreciate you too. Go on. I'm sorry.
just that as far as my weed management, yeah, it's the only thing I've done so far. I got my prodiamine down finally. I sprayed that a couple of days ago. I wanted to do it sooner, but I actually had trouble with that sprayer. The motor, I guess the pump wasn't very happy after the winter, so I had to kind of
mm,
get it primed. But once I figured it out, it sprayed fine. So
mhm.
Always.
The only other question I
Go
had
ahead.
for you. Sorry, good.
No, go ahead. What's your last question?
Sorry, Ron. Okay, real quick. Yeah. There's a couple areas of my lawn that kind of seem to hold water, and I wasn't sure if you had a suggestion on what to do there. Like, so, I've definitely dialed back my program to just working on, the fertilization type stuff and the mowing. Trying to, like you said, the 1/3 rule, trying to get it before it's too high. Um, but I wasn't sure if there was another product I should consider to improve the water penetration. Like in certain areas, it's mostly just heavy rain runoff, but it'll kind of pool there for a period of time. I don't know. Wasn't sure if there's something I should consider for that.
How large or what type of area are we talking about in the lawn within this 50,000 square feet? Are these like puddles that are like, 8, 10 feet across, or are these like large swaths of the lawn that lay wet like this?
No, more like puddles, like you were suggesting.
Gotcha. Yeah. So let me see if I can find, man, I used to have a good picture I could show. This is a little bit hardcore, but I will at least give you the idea. Where are we at here? Let me send this to JPink. Right
It's
here.
also with the idea too, like, because I don't have irrigation, right? It's like you want to capture, you want to be able to maximize every drop you do get, right? So like there's another area that's slightly sloped, and it's also near the road, right? So it's by the blacktop. It's always hot, so of
Mm-hmm.
course that's my driest and least lush area, so to speak.
Sure.
So
That's
I'm
just
just trying to figure out how to maximize
that,
water.
well, that's just how it goes because what I noticed is that any area that is near pavement or concrete tends to be a little hotter, and
Right.
there are no good hacks that I can think of to address that other than water. That's the only thing I can think of is water. And other than that, that's just the nature of it is that your roadside areas may be a little hotter because of the heat reflected off of the pavement.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just how it is.
Yeah, a couple of things I could see in those areas along the driveway and things like that. Like sometimes you'll find that you get spillover from the driveway construction. There's more stone and rock and things like that in those areas of soils, which
Mhm.
is going to predispose it to being drier naturally. Plus, then the higher surface temperatures adjacent to it, it's not a very good area conducive for growing good turf. So those might be areas where if you want to experiment and mess around with some of the wetting agents and things like that, absolutely can do that. I wouldn't see an issue there. Um, in the little like what I call bird baths, right? If it really is a big issue, you can go ahead and do this method here. This is oversized for what you would need to do. You can go to the local rental yard, Home Depot, whatever. Get yourself a 1 or 2 man auger some holes out, and then backfill that with a good quality sand. Not necessarily play sand, but if you can get like some concrete sand, something like that, you should have pretty good, decent success at using that as sort of like a sump in effect. So again, in a larger lawn and bigger turf areas that aren't irrigated or aren't going to be, like a showpiece or anything like that, you start to get a little bit more functional over form, right? In those cases, I could see something like this being sort of a high impact, low effort type of solution that you should try and employ and see how it goes.
Right.
Ah,
Okay.
the drill and fill method.
Yes.
That
Yes.
is that is something that I I really believe in for areas that people tell me the water seems to be, pooling in that area. My answer to that would be drill it out and refill all the holes with some sand.
Are
There's
you talking
no
like an aeration, or are you talking something like you got on the screen here?
Like an auger,
like what
go
you
get a
Auger.
1 man.
li-
Yeah.
like go
Go
get a
do
one
that.
man auger
The other
because
thing,
I
Okay.
go
even
ahead.
I even do that with these 2 or 3 inch planting augers that I attached to an
You just
impact
read my
drill,
mind.
Ryan.
Yeah, you could do that.
like
Another thing I've seen
yeah,
work well is like the bulb planters, right? So those can
Actually,
work.
that's what I was thinking. Yeah,
Yep,
we have
yep.
a couple
yeah,
of those.
yeah,
Those.
yeah.
How deep you got to go?
I mean, uh, not that that's what she said, but the deeper the better. Um,
Boy,
she
did I walk
didn't,
into
and
that one.
yeah, you did walk. You did walk.
Yeah.
Uh,
That was
you
But
know,
that was a softball.
if the yeah, if the soil says I taste metal, then you've gone too deep. But the I would just I would stick with something in the 12 to 18-inch range if you can get down that far, and start with that and see how it goes.
Okay.
yeah, I
Okay.
mean that's what I like on poorly drained and poorly aerated soils is to start drilling 12-inch by 3-inch holes, spaced rather close in the area, like a hole every 12 inches, and then refilling all of those holes with some good masonry sand,
Yep.
and just
And then
that's how you, that's
most
how you.
likely, and then the grass will most likely fill right into those areas. Right
It
to
should,
seed it too.
depending on how big if you're in the ball planter stage and if you've got tall fescue, I'd go ahead and throw some seed in there. Um, Again, it's not gonna be a quick process, and I think expecting that those stay open for even an entire year is not out of the question. And trying to get grass to move and cover those over, but again, short-term pain,
Yeah.
long-term gain kind of thing, and then see how that goes. I think at some point, and the heavier, more clay like your soil is, I think you're going to see some reduced efficiency from those. It's going to help. There's no question about that. The question
Right.
is to what degree, like how many holes do you have to put out there to actually see a noticeable difference, and then moreover is longevity of that. Like at a certain point you're going to lose efficacy on the ones that you do have out there, and you might need to add more if you plan on sticking around
I
that house
gotcha.
for the foreseeable future. So
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you
It's
just mentioned
just
fescue, right? So considering I'm in like central Jersey, is that kind of my best bet for like if I did wanted to try and improve the lawn and overseed after some aeration and stuff, is fescue kind of my best bet?
yeah, I mean, I
that would
think
be a
on
Lack of
reasonable option.
irrigation and lack of maintenance I want to do.
correct. I think on unirrigated, I think that's going to be your best bet.
Okay.
All the way around, you're not going to get you're not going to like Kentucky bluegrass, either getting it established or maintaining it without irrigation. So yeah, tall fescue is going to be your best bet.
Yeah, because Mr. Ryan Nor's videos kind of got me excited about the what's the other one?
Line
Ryegrass.
fescue? Oh,
And
perennial ryegrass. Oh yeah, you don't want to grow. You do
yeah,
not want to grow ryegrass in Jersey
Ryegrass,
unirrigated. That
no, no,
that's
no, 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 no,
no wonder the
because
guy at the site one was looking at me strange.
yeah,
yeah,
I love Ryan. Ryan's a great friend, and he would even tell you that that's not a good scenario to not do that. So you're
yeah,
you're good.
because
Gotcha. Huh? Live and learn.
yeah, yeah, because you only do what Ryan does with his lawn if you have in-ground irrigation. That's just how it is. I mean, and
That and fungicide program that's like bulletproof.
pro grade fungicide program, yeah, and plant growth regulators, dialed in. I mean, the whole the whole 9 yards. And I start
Yeah.
to consider the idea that, for one thing, all I'm gonna say is that uh the better you want a lawn to be, sad truth is that the bigger and better your sprayer and spreader has to be. That's just how
Right.
it goes. Because that pull behind sprayer will work on making these low level pre-emergent and weed control applications, but for fairway level lawns, You're gonna need
Yeah.
more than that. Okay.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's out of my interest range. Yep. So
Yeah. So
cool.
I'd say, okay, keep it simple. Keep it simple.
That's exactly my strategy. Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks, gentlemen. I appreciate me taking my call.
Well,
Nice talking
Thanks
to
so
you.
thank you
much.
for
For
calling.
watching you all.
Thank you.
All right. You guys have,
Have
a
a
good
good
night.
evening, sir.
Take care.
Let's see here. All right, we have J Pink. I got one question in the chat I want to talk about real quick, and then we will go over to our emailed in question. All right, so Johnny Fescue wants to know, Ray, what's your thoughts on the products like Ultricia N being viable for turfgrass use to provide some N? I can't find any research on it related to turfgrass. So, for those of you that are
What
not
is
familiar, it's a product
what is
from
Ultra?
Corteva,
Mm-hmm.
and it is basically, hang on a second here, J Pink. Here's the label, and back here.
Okay.
So basically, it gets in the leaf, and it is a way of fixing nitrogen in a more efficient way. Essentially, is what they're
Mm.
claiming in terms of crops. Right? Nothing's been done in turf, to my knowledge. I'm sure they're experimenting with it, but from that standpoint, be interesting to see what comes of it. So here's one. This is on cereal crops. Let's see.
Okay.
It's like
I see a usage case scenario on range and pasture, and I would probably translate that down to turf grass. And 5 ounce per acre application, and you apply it just once. Just apply it once at that indicated growth stage, which is apparently early in the season.
this is I mean, it's interesting stuff when you start reading about um so we've talked a little bit about um some of these what do I want to call
Biological products. Yeah,
right,
biological
but
products that mine nitrogen. Yeah,
well,
we've
this
talked about it on the
plant
burner
inoculants,
turns.
yeah, these
Yeah,
plant
right.
inoculants, right? And I think it's such an emerging type of thing, and just quickly scrolling through some of the research here that they've got on cereal crops, which is about as close as we're going to get to turf right now.
Mm-hmm.
uh they'll even tell you that there's some wildly inconsistent data, but the stuff that's out there that's good is like really good. It's not like it's from dog shit to okay. It's from okay, pretty good to holy shit, this is amazing. So I
To
think
wow,
that's
yeah.
where, yeah. How's that for an x-axis, boys? Huh? What do you think about that?
How,
Y-axis.
however, here's my thought on it.
Let's hear it, Ray.
Once you inoculate the turf grass with this Ultricia, how do you stop it? How do you stop it?
Great
Because,
question.
my concern as far as turf grass is concerned is having a lot of available nitrogen at the wrong times of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
the wrong times of the year, Ryan, can include midsummer for cool season grasses
mm-hmm.
and fall winter for our warm season grasses. I mean, how do I know that this Ultricia would not be supplying nitrogen nonstop from spring till dormancy without stopping. That would be like somebody loading down the fertilizer continuously from spring till dormancy.
And that's the thing. I don't.
something.
Well, so here's the other thing too. Here's one important point, Johnny Fescue. As I sit here and think about this, is where these are being studied are in cropping systems that are, for all intents and purposes, annual, right? We plant them, we grow them, we harvest them, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Turf grass is a perennial cropping system, right? Multi-year, multi-decade. So how does it respond in that? Who knows? So, but the next time I see a Corteva guy, I'm going to ask, find out, because Ray, sometimes you got to
Yeah.
FAFO, right?
Yeah, sometimes you got to FAFO, but this would be one where the next time I run into a Corteva guy, I'm going to ask the question too, because I'm sure they were thinking about this, and this must be why I don't see it even proposed for use on turf grass, because of that time of nitrogen action issue that I'm talking about or thinking about. I'm pretty sure this must be why it's not even a thought, because how do I know that this is not going to be releasing a lot of nitrogen on, say, turf type tall fescue in July
I have to
or
go back and
August?
look. Oh man, this is gonna kill me. I don't. I'm not gonna go look for it right now. But there was some good work. I think Tennessee. I think Matt's Falls
Mm-hmm.
did this work about so
Mm-hmm.
same principle, right? Of using what the premise here of this whole product is like creating a legume-like effect, right? Where you are able to, where the
Yes.
plant's able to fix nitrogen out of the atmosphere and and turn it into
Mm-hmm.
ammonium, convert it to ammonium. And so this work that was at Tennessee was specifically in turf for how much clover can we add to a system, right, to where it's
Mm-hmm.
still stable and useful, right? But also, and this is like in a sports turf application, how much can we introduce that it's still stable and useful for athletics, but then also too is understanding how much nitrogen is being introduced back into the system by that. And I want to say that if I remember correctly, and don't quote me, Turf Truth, if you're listening, cover your ears. La 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 la. But I think it was 10% clover, and I want to say that the deposition of nitrogen that it was as a result of the clover itself was like less than 20% of the overall nitrogen that went into the system that year. So it's not a dramatic effect. It's not as if, and I think that sometimes oversold, right? When people think, well, I just, add clover and it's beneficial. And it is, there are benefits to it. Don't get me wrong. But it's not like hey, this is going to supply, 50%, let's just say, of nitrogen for the entire system for an entire year. Is it more sustainable? Yeah, but when you put traffic on it, when you put it under stress, when you mow it low, when you do all these other things, that creates an incident or a type of system that's just not able to be balanced out. So there's got to be some trade-offs there, whether it be from traffic, from mowing height, whatever. It's a deep dive topic, but hey, the plant inoculants in turf grass. We should go down that wormhole here soon, Ray.
Yeah. Yeah. Likewise, I've known that if you have these inoculants, then my question becomes, how does that plant respond to additional nitrogen being applied? Because I know in the case of something like inoculated leguminous crops, they tend to basically scale the amount of nitrogen fixation according to the amount of nitrogen that is being applied as well. So what happens is either you supply it mostly through the inoculum, or you just feed conventionally.
And I think
It's
if anything, if anything's gonna move this conversation along further and faster, Ray, It might
Mhm.
have just been, one of our favorite burner return subjects, but Vladimir Putin. Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
Cortiva thanks you as well. So, all right, there it is. Right. Oh no, that's Matt. That's Matt.
That's
That's
Matt.
actually, it's funny. People will say that, um, we photoshopped that head on, but it was actually Matt who took that picture first. And Vlad was so inspired that he's like, in Russian, of course, I'm paraphrasing, but he made the FSB go find him a bear in a river, and they did the whole thing over again, just to be like Matt. So special. That's the effect that Matt has on people. Amazing. All right, let's do this writing question from our Midwestern friend real quick, and if see what time it is then, and maybe do one more call before we get out of here. Pull it up here, J Pink. This one's kind of a novel, or do you just want me to read it? I'll read it.
Okay.
I'll read it. I'll read it. All right. I got to scroll up here. It's like an entire page. And it's good, though. It's very descriptive. All right. Here we go, Ray. Greetings, Matt, Ray, and
All
Ryan. I'll skip to the point. However, really enjoy listening to your show. My wife thinks I'm crazy, but aren't we all? Sir, I can empathize. All right, so he says he's in central Indiana. He's got a fescue lawn with 34,000 square feet. Purchased the home in 2018. Lawn was mostly Kentucky 31 and neglected. Sad state of affairs there. That's my editorial, not in his letter. I've since overseeded every fall with Falcon 4 heavily, the turf type tall fescue mix. All in all, I have been pretty happy with my results. Prior lawn was perennial ryegrass and only 8,000 square feet and shaded. So this tall fescue was a change for me. All sun at the new place. All right. So my question is regarding fungus. Every May, like clockwork, around the 10th to the 15th, I suffer what I assume to be leaf spot and run my own headway. So he's rolling his own and getting good results. Any thoughts on lessening the leaf spot, or is this a lifelong endeavor to treat every 28 days or so as a preventative to live the previously existing Kentucky 31? Temps in May are typically in the high 60s to low 70s, whereas night times are in the 40s to 50s. I have less than high hopes from the local knowledge of applicators in my area. One company was out this month spraying 3-way and prodiamine and billing customers in 30-degree weather, while other services have recommended spraying Enclave with chlorothalonil as an active ingredient to cure leaf spot on my residential lawn, whichever is labeled as not a desirable candidate for leaf spot. Grass has typically been maintained at 3 3/4 of an inch by May 15th and would have about a pound of nitrogen at that point. Reside in wide open farm country, so air circulation is no issue. However, I'm dropping the N rate in the spring to a half a pound in efforts to curtail the fungus and also dropping the height of cut to about 3 to 3 1/4. Any thoughts on this? And then he's also included a soil test and some pics. And let's see what we're working with here. So here's our soil test. All right. So, they ran the Bray on the phosphorus. Props to these guys.
All right.
Indiana.
All right.
I mean, I
Okay.
don't see anything here, Ray, that is really other
Egregious
than,
or
this looks like typical Indiana soil. You're going to look at that magnesium and calcium and probably freak out and say, hey, it's a tight soil. It's going to be a silty soil like you would see just about anywhere else here through the Midwest and the breadbasket through central Ohio down the I-70 corridor. So nothing shocking there to me.
no, nothing shocking. Nothing shocking to me either. And looking at this soil, my counsel to this guy would be think about lowering the amount of fertilizer you're applying overall because the lawn just doesn't need it. Not a lot.
Yeah, and I
doesn't need a lot.
don't know. He didn't really say an annual input. All he said was that they do. He's doing he was typically doing about a pound prior to, say, Memorial Day, and I would say, yeah, you could definitely cut that back at least to a half,
lot.
and maybe to zero. I mean, if you do
Maybe to zero. Yeah, do
So in
your
the-
fall fert.
Yep.
Right? Do the fall fert. And because you know what other people have told me? when they cut back on their spring feeding, they notice that their summer disease season is not as brutal. I wonder why.
Yeah, and that's the thing I would say too is, get your I would say that getting the end right first before worrying about that. Now, leaf spot isn't super influenced by nitrogen rates, but in general, right, it's something that you'd want to be mindful of. I think running your own azoxy, look at that thing. I don't know when this picture was taken, but it looks beautiful.
Mhm.
Prune those trees out with a stump grinder if you'd like to, but you know, here's the couple things I would say is just, back off on the spring end. If you want to keep it in the program, put it on the back end at the end of the year and try to focus on doing it then. And I think, your results might change. As far as the leaf spot thing, I do believe that that's having older cultivars out there. I don't think that's anything you're going to be able to get away from. You're going to live with that, and it is what it is for the time being, right? Spray your own headway, roll that, and keep it rocking going forward. On the soil test, there's nothing I see here that indicates that you need to do anything other than nitrogen only at this point. So focus on your N. In this case, you really could have your pick of the litter. If you want to do ammonium sulfate, fantastic. If you want to do urea, fantastic. I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong either way. Ray, anything else to add? Any other thoughts here for a very nuanced and plenty of detail question? I really appreciated this one.
Well, I also would like to add that if you can get your height of cut down a little lower, that also does something as well, because when you get your height of cut down a little bit, what that helps to do is dry up that turf canopy a little bit. Make it
Yeah.
so that it's not holding as much water in there. I mean, dry it down a little, because that, Ryan, is why I don't like to deal with grass over an inch tall here in Hawaii. I don't like to do it because that's just a disease fest.
Listen,
That's just
doesn't matter if you're inside or outside. Ain't nobody gonna appreciate limp and floppy. That's just the way it goes, and that's life.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Well, for me, wet and warm is good for something else except grass. Just saying.
Right on. Right on.
Just
Well, hey,
saying.
Ray, it's listen, we're coming up on over 2 hours now, 2 hours and 20 some minutes by my watch. But listen, this has been great. Again, for those of you that are just tuning in or tuned in late, Matt is dealing with a very, very important issue at his new plant. He really wanted to be here, but he's not, and 2/3 of us are. And listen, it's the
Yes.
it's the fattest and the skinniest of the 2/3 of us, and you should be appreciative of that, right? So, all that being said, we thank you. We had a blast. We'll do this again soon. And for the rest of y'all, come over, take a look at us over on our private Discord. It's part of our Patreon, and you can join that at www.patreon.com/burn and return for the low, low price of an airport beer. Come join us. Have fun. Kick it every week. Learn, live, and Ray, know what you're doing, because if anybody's going to explain the why, it's all y'all right here. Thanks so much. Have a great evening.
Good night, all.